Ejercito, Senate Bill 955 by Senator Bong Revilla, Senate Bill 1160 by Senator Villar, Senate Bill number 1937 by Senator Chis Escudero, Senate Bill number 2097 by Senator Bongbong Marcos, Senate Bill 2265 by Senate President Drilon, and the House Bill approved on third reading 4397. The Philippines, which is located in a disaster-prone area, has to deal with the wrath of various forms of calamities that challenge the government and its people's capacity to respond and endure. Extreme weather disturbances as seen in recent years will not be an isolated phenomenon. Hence the importance of modernizing the PAGASA to ensure that it is capable of meeting the increasing demands of disaster risk reduction management. There is no question that we need to strengthen PAGASA, but more than providing appropriation for its modernization, we would like to see in the bill some standards and goals with which we can better appreciate and measure the kind of modernization that is envisioned for PAGASA. Except for some provisions, all the bills filed on the PAGASA modernization have essentially similar features. The committee will want to hear from the DOST and the DBM regarding the proposal on the organization and compensation package for the PAGASA. Should we exempt the employees from the operation of the SSL? Do we authorize DBM in consultation with DOST to determine a new salary scale and benefits for PAGASA? It seems that a better option would be to include in the bill the grant to PAGASA employees of an allowance that is unique to them, considering the peculiar nature of their jobs. We also request the DBM, DOF, and the PAGCO resource persons to comment on the proposed PAGASA Modernization Fund to be financed mainly by PAGCO and the GAA, among other fund sources. At this juncture, may I now request the DOST and PAGASA to make their presentation. ASEC Santos from the DOST, would you have a presentation or comments to make on the proposed measures?
Honorable Chairman, Senator Ralph Recto, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow public servants, on behalf of the department, we would like to express our sincere thanks and gratitude to the authors of this bill, which aims to upgrade the physical resources and operational techniques of PAGASA and to raise the level of research and development and human resource development. This will definitely assist PAGASA in the fulfillment of its mandate. We would like, on the part of the DOST, we would like to assure this committee that we would extend all the support and cooperation in any discussion or deliberation of this bill, Your Honor, and we would also be willing to cooperate and be a part of whatever working groups which this committee may decide to form if this committee would feel it's necessary. That would be all, Your Honor.
ASEC Santos, what do you want to see in a PAGASA modernization bill? What are the elements that you would like to see in such a bill? Are they found already in the current bills filed in the Senate and likewise in the House bill that has been passed on third reading and transmitted to the Senate? Are there any amendments that you wish to propose or to include in the bills?
Yes, sir. We have been in constant review of the bill which was being proposed in both the Senate and the House of Representatives, and we would like to see there some provisions which would address the increase in the personal requirements of PAGASA, because we feel that even if the equipments are upgraded and additional stations are perform in various parts of the countries, the manpower complement should also be increased. Your Honor.
So how many stations do you have right now with
Your-
regard to PAGASA?
Your Honor, may I ask the administrator
Yes.
of CASA to answer?
Yes.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Dr. Malano, OIC Administrator PAGASA, you're recognized, please.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. During this time, we have 10 radar stations. We have 58 so-called synoptic stations. These are all main stations, and 23 agromet stations, plus 4 flood forecasting warning centers. These 4 flood forecasting warning centers are all established in Luzon. These are in Agno, Bicol, Pampanga, and Cagayan. We have monitoring facilities along Pasig Marikina River Basin, but we don't have forecasting center along Pasig Marikina River Basins. All in all, we have 18 major river basins, and during this time we are in the process of establishing warning centers in Mindanao. We have already bidded out the establishment of warning centers in Davao, Cagayan de Oro, Agusan River Basin, and Malumon in South Cotabato. And we still have to establish 4 other warning centers in the rest of the 4 river basins in Mindanao.
Yeah, Dr. Malano, naiintindihan ko yung sinasabi mo, no? Pero the point is, the reason why we're discussing itong PAGASA modernization is gusto natin, palagay ko ang layunin nito ay i-fast track yung modernization ng PAGASA. Di ba?
Yes, sir.
So, how are you doing at present as far as PAGASA? Masaya na ba kayo sa modernization program ninyo o kinakailangan pa ba natin ng batas para i-fast track to?
Yes, Sir Honor. I think we need to fast track the modernization of PAGASA. We need to establish or we need to service the aviation weather services. We need to have different equipment that will be installed in different airports, particularly in the major airports of the Philippines. We have to establish network of lightning and lightning detection and monitoring. We need to cater also the services for our shipping industry, and for us to give the good services for these demands, we need to strengthen our numerical weather prediction and research group, and we should have at least a robust communication network for those stations that will transmit information from the radar stations and other monitoring equipment. Also, we have to establish astronomy and planetarium services in Luzon, in the Visayas and Mindanao. And I think most important is to strengthen our human resource.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Malano. No? Ang tao ninyo ngayon ay 866 yung PAGASA personnel. No? What do you envision? Gaano karami ba ang kailangan ninyong tao? Because you're talking about facilities, equipment, and manpower.
We have initial estimate of 150 additional personnel. This additional personnel will be deployed in the different river, in the proposed warning centers for river basins, for our radar stations, and to our research and modelers for numerical weather prediction.
Okay. So, do any of the bills address these concerns?
The bill is more on general provision. It's no specific for.
So, is there a necessity to be more specific in determining standards for PAGASA, for example, or a game plan in the bill, such as that there is a time frame, identifying of resources, for example?
Yes, Your Honor. We need to have, I think we have to establish technical working group.
Okay, so you recommend that we have a TWG to thresh out all these details and to put it in the bill in a proposed committee report later on. Yes. At this juncture, I'd like to, well, thank you, Dr. Malano. I'd like to recognize first NEDA. Do we have NEDA here?
Your Honor, Kaloy Abad Santos from the
Yes.
governance staff of NEDA.
Yes, Mr. Santos. Would you have an investment plan as far as PAGASA is concerned?
We don't have, but initially there was a proposal for PAGASA Modernization as a project that went through the ICC. However, the difficulties that that would have to go through, that would be sourced locally, funded locally or ODA, and then there are also limits to what you can put in a project, unlike having a bill that would modernize PAGASA.
How would you envision a bill modernizing PAGASA?
Well,
What elements would you want in the bill? Yes.
in terms of the rationale and the need to modernize PAGASA, there are a lot of PIDS has a study, CEPO has a study with regards to the requirements, the general requirements. But in the components will be looking at equipment, the bring up to standards the equipment of PAGASA for forecasting. And second is the capacity of what are the manpower requirements in terms of number and in terms of the requirements and the capacities. And third would be to look at a capacity building program for those employees, because right now there are only 8.3% of the PAGASA employees have graduate degrees appropriate to the requirements, and this is quite low. And we know that the attrition is mainly also because of the low compensation that we give to the technical and scientific positions in PAGASA.
So any bill will also have to deal with
Would have to have
compensation.
that, and it will have to be also aligned with the Magna Carta bill. And that should also be incorporated, because there might be difficulties later on if you leave it for both, let's say, DB and PAGASA to determine the positions and the compensation requirements. So that should be incorporated in the bill for modernizing PAGASA.
Okay. So at the moment, there is no, in the Philippine Development Plan, there is no investment program as far as PAGASA is concerned.
So there is no investment program in the updated Philippine Development Plan. However, in the Philippine Development Plan, it says there that there is a need to strengthen our disaster risk management, and one of the areas is modernization of PAGASA. So the modernization of PAGASA is part of the Philippine Development Plan, but in the PIP, there is no particular...
No specifics.
No specific for under the PIP.
How long will it take for NEDA, the DBM, and PAGASA to come out with a wish list of some sort that we may incorporate in the said modernization plan or bill for PAGASA, so that we can identify the needs? What are the tools, the manpower, compensation necessary, for example, that we can incorporate in the proposed measure?
Your Honor, I'm Kathleen from the
Yes, Kathleen.
infrastructure staff. Yes, sir. You are right that we should start with an inventory of what is existing in terms of equipment, in terms of manpower, in terms of the capacity of the technical staff of PAGASA, and from there on we can move on into identifying what are the gaps, what are the requirements, and then that's where we start to plan what we need, what we can do, etc. So I'd say about 6 months or so would be enough probably to have the plan. But I'm not committing to that, sir. But it will depend again on what is the result of the inventory, and what would be needed. It will depend on the gaps that will be coming out of that inventory. And what
So in effect, more or less within a 6-month period.
Sir, for infrastructure projects, it would take 6 to 1 year for an FS. So I guess that would also apply to this program.
Asik Santos, you wanted to say something?
As far as DOST and PAGASA is concerned, Your Honor, we are prepared to our inventory of existing equipments and infrastructures are readily available. In fact, we have already submitted a listing to the House of Representatives, and I believe we also provided a copy of the tentative PAGASA Modernization Plan, which already contains the equipments and the additional personnel which is being proposed to be procured, Your Honor.
Thank you, Asik Santos. From the DBM, do we have a representative from the DBM? Yes.
Yes, sir. I'm Clotilde Drapete from the Systems and Productivity Improvement Bureau.
Yes.
We generally support the intention of Senate Bill 2097, authored by Honorable Ferdinand Marcos Jr., to upgrade the present capabilities of PAGASA in order to enhance the agency's provision of weather, atmospheric, typhoon, and flood forecasting services to the public. PAGASA belongs to the DOST's S&T Service Institute Group, which provides science and technology-related services. The current level of the PAGASA administrator is salary grade 28, which is the same as that of the other DOST agencies such as ASTI and FIBOX. As a general policy, the rank level of heads of bureaus or agencies under the supervision and control or admin supervision of a department is that of a Bureau Director 4 or salary grade 28. Thus, the proposed elevation of the rank of the PAGASA administrator higher than the Bureau Director, as envisioned in the bill, may be pursued if the admin relationship of the PAGASA to the DOST is changed from being under the supervision and control of said department, meaning the department secretary has the authority over and responsibility for the operation of the agency, to being attached to the department for purposes of policy and program coordination. Under Admin Code of 1987, under policy and program coordination, agency operations are left to the discretion of the agency head. So we recommend, Your Honor, the elevation of the rank of the administrator to higher than a bureau director if its admin relationship would be changed from supervision and control to policy and program coordination. That's all.
Thank you for that. Just one more issue, Sec Santos. No? It has been reported in media na maraming umaalis sa mga empleyado sa PAGASA. Totoo ba to? Could you explain to the committee the situation in PAGASA today? As far as employees are concerned, apparently maraming umaalis sa mga empleyado ng PAGASA.
Your Honor, may I yield to the director of PAGASA to answer your question because he's the one who's directly involved in
Yes, please. Dr. Malano, OIC Administrator.
Thank you. Thank you po. From 2005 up to present, there are already 32 personnel who have gone abroad, and most of them are forecasters. Few are sub-professional level, and less than, I think, there were only 5 that are sub-professional. So all in all, we have registered 32 to this time that have left from
Yeah.
PAGASA.
Question sa DOST. Ito nangyayari lang ba to sa PAGASA o nangyayari din to sa iba't ibang ahensya ng DOST?
Sir, nangyayari din po to sa iba't ibang ahensya ng DOST like PhilBox or some other agencies, mga research, ASTI, Advanced Science and Technology Institutes, because of the temptations being offered by companies in other countries for higher paying jobs. So of course, you cannot really blame this our SNT personnel because of the need to support their family. But we would like to assure the Honorable Chair that the department is doing its best in implementing and giving the benefits of the SNT personnel, like giving them the Magna Carta benefits.
Since nabanggit mo na yung Magna Carta for scientists and engineers, no? Siguro pwede na rin natin pag-usapan to together with the PAGASA Modernization at this juncture, no? So, isama na rin natin yung Senate Bill number 1358, which I am authoring as well, no? So, sinasabi nyo nangyayari to hindi lang sa PAGASA, kundi sa PHIVOX din. Ha? Pero, ilan na yung nawala sa PHIVOX naman simula ng 2005 up to the present? O mas malaki ba yung problema sa PAGASA?
Sir, mas nababalita yung problema sa PAGASA. And we have agencies like the Advanced Science and Technology Institutes na meron din mga umaalis na mga technical people natin na after we have devoted some time and effort and money training them, they decide to leave to get higher paying jobs.
Could you provide us data for all of this? Nabanggit nyo kanina yung PAGASA 30 plus employees nang nawala. Ha?
Yes, sir.
Sa PHIVOX ilan na?
Meron ka?
Mga 10.
10, sir.
Doon sa isang ahensya na banggit nyo, ilan?
Sa ASTI. Sir, we will provide you with
The
a report
information.
of this.
Siguro this juncture could be here also from the Employees Association. Do we have a representative here?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm Juan Agustin, the President of the Philippine Weathermen Employees Association.
Yes, Mr. Agustin, please.
Yes, good morning, Your Honor. Actually, yun pong problema dun sa tinatawag nating brain drain started, for the record, according to our record nga po, since 2005, there are 32 na who left the agency. Ang trend po nito, previously ay once a year, one or two personnel leaving PAGASA. However, lately ay medyo naging alarming because we can turn this one, like for now, 2014, there were 4 and there are still 3 who are being convinced to work with the foreign countries. Ang tawag po namin dito, dati isa lang, dalawa, ngayon po bultuhan na. That is why we are very alarmed dito po sa PAGASA.
Itong Magna Carta for Scientists, ito ay isang response ng legislatura to address supposedly this concern, di ba? Hindi naging effective itong Magna Carta for Scientists and Engineers, Republic Act 8439.
Kasi po, yung Magna Carta which was passed in the year 1998, lately lang po napopondohan. Actually, it all started 2010, wherein all the benefits under Magna Carta were given. Previously, from 1998 until 2009, we have never received completely the 3 benefits under the Magna Carta, which are the longevity pay, hazard allowance pay, and the subsistence allowance. However, since 2010, we have received the 3 benefits. The only problem was, nagkakaroon po ng delay. In 2012, 8 months na delay. last year, the same period, 8 months. That is why yung pong aming mga kasama nagkakaroon ng agam-agam na if it only were given regularly, siguro they could think twice before leaving us.
So bakit naman nade-delay? Anong dahilan ng delay?
Kasi wala pong pondo. Previously, ay sa savings lang po kinukuha. However, yung 2014, as of now, binigyan po ng pondo under NPBF para po dun sa lahat ng DOST agencies, which was pegged at 500 million. And PAGASA can access the funds through request lamang po. Noong pong February, nag-request po kami po to access the funds. Marami pong busising ginagawa, kaya that is why, until now, for this year, I medyo slightly delayed din po.
So, what is the cause of the delay? Is it because, alimbawa, dito yung sa hazard pay, nakalagay doon 10 to 30%?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, you could have 20 points of discretion, 11, 12, hanggang 29, 30, depending on the hazard situation of the employee. So, iniisa-isa yan di ba? Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, of course, hindi naman ginagawa 11, 12, 13, 14 from 10 to 30, but how is the process right now, ASEC Santos? How does it work?
Actually, Your Honor, dun sa sala at saka yung laundry na ibibigay naman on time dahil naka-incorporate na yun sa GAA. The problem here is on the hazard pay and the longevity pay. Dun sa 2014, the hazard pay and the longevity pay will be sourced out of the miscellaneous personal benefit funds. Now, as a matter of policy, the DOST, of course, would determine the amount of hazard pay after determining the level of risk and the number of days of exposures. Now, of course, this would take time because we would ask the agencies to submit a report of this level of risk and the number of days of exposure on a per employee basis. But right now,
So, it's bureaucratic.
yes, sir. Dahil, sir, kasi considering that it is termed as hazard pay, so naturally, yung binibigay mo yan, if there is an hazard. Ganon. So, dito para ma-determine natin kung whether it's 10% or whatever rate.
Okay. How would you want the committee to address the issue now of this brain drain? What are your recommendations, ASEC Santos? And let's ask from the employees organization as well. Yes, ASEC Santos.
Actually, Your Honor, we would most welcome the bill which was proposed by you, which seeks to peg the hazard pay of the SNT personnel to an across the board 30%. Because this would definitely solve or address our problem of brain drain, at least, sir. Also,
So that's one recommendation.
yes,
One
sir.
recommendation
we
is
fully support that. All of
ilagay
you.
na natin sa budget yung 30%,
Yes, sir.
di ba?
Yes, sir.
Hazard pay, total nandiyan na rin sa batas yan. 10 to 30, tanggalin mo na yung discretion at gawin 30. That's one recommendation.
Yes, sir. Another recommendation which we were thinking is with respect to addressing our problem to the other science and technology workers which are doing, like researchers and scientists in the universities and state universities and colleges. Kasi right now, we are also doing some research and development activities with them may collaboration research kami with, say, UP, or UP Visayas, UP Baguio. So, yung mga researchers doon, napepeg yung honorarium na dapat nilang na-receive to the maximum of 25% of their basic allowance. So, we in the department are experiencing this problem of properly compensating our researchers and scientists who are involved in our projects. So yun, sir.
For me to understand, no, are you talking about an additional allowance?
No, sir. Kasi
Honorarium lang.
Kasi it is already provided in the Magna Carta law. However, there are provisions found in the General Appropriation Act which set a ceiling to a maximum of 25% of the basic salary, ceiling on the honoraria which they should receive. Now, we in the department experience
for
this problem.
researchers.
Yes, sir. Because the researchers, we consider them as part of the science community. So we should also protect them. We should also make sure na hindi rin sila aalis para makatulong din sila sa ating bayan.
Yes. Could we hear from the DBM? Yes.
Mr. Senator,
Good morning.
I'm Egay Macranas of the Organization, Position Classification and Compensation Bureau. We are the agency which issued the circular on the Magna Carta benefits for SNT as well as other professions in government. With respect to the Magna Carta benefits, we have provided in the budgets of the PAGASA for 2014, 39.1 million, 39.1 billion. As of March 31, 2014, per the Financial Accountability Report, the PAGASA has expended around 19.2 million only, so there's still a balance which they have to spend. So I think the 39 million is sufficient to pay for the Magna Carta benefits of the PAGASA personnel.
Ang problema dito yung nadidelay na sinasabi nila but it could be bureaucratic, no? Okay. First, siguro tanggapin natin, no? Meron ba talagang brain drain sa PAGASA? Is there really a brain drain in PAGASA? Malaki ba yung problema?
Nagkakaroon po talaga kami problema, particular po doon sa mga forecasters.
Correct. Okay.
So, dahil nga, yun yung
Ay, kung meron problema ang brain drain sa PAGASA at tinatanggap natin yung maliwanag, assuming, anong pwede natin gawin dito sa Magna Carta bill na to to address that problem, no? There's a recommendation, ipeg natin ng 30% na yung hazard pay. That's one, no? Or, maghanap tayo ng isa pang allowance sa pangalan, siguro, for SNT personnel. Or maybe only for PAGASA. Only if there is such a problem that only exists, for example, in PAGASA. Okay? Could we hear from the DBM? Along this line? Is there such a brain drain? Have you come across that problem in PAGASA?
Based on
Or
the newspaper
Facebooks.
reports,
Yes.
Mr. Senator, the Honorable Chair, we in the DBM are conducting a salary survey of comparable positions in the private sector. So, the results of this survey will be the basis for recommendations for future adjustments, if any, based on availability of funds.
What is a comparable in the private sector of PAGASA naman? Meron bang comparable?
May mga, wala eh.
Wala.
Walang weather forecaster na na comparable sa private sector. Sa foreign countries lang. But for other scientific personnel, meron mga geologists, chemists,
Okay. But
the
weather
scientific
forecaster
specialists.
kakaiba in that sense.
Yes, sir. It's a very unique position.
Okay.
So there's no basis for comparing the...
So the comparison is with foreign.
Yeah, yes, sir. But we're talking here of... most of the weather forecasters are also engineers, no? So we relate them to other professions of engineers like the civil engineer, mechanical, electrical, and communication, electronics and communication engineer.
Pero kakaiba yung kanila.
Kakaiba lang talaga yung kanila.
Okay. So gaano katagal before you're able to come out with a recommendation?
We're finalizing the report
And how long will that take?
maybe in 2 months' time.
In 2 months'
we'll be
time.
able to submit a report to the president for his consideration.
Okay. How long will it take for you to submit a report to the committee?
Regarding, sir, the results of the salary survey,
Yes. Or particularly with regard to PAGASA.
after perhaps the
Only with regard to PAGASA, I suppose, no, as far as the committee is concerned.
maybe we can get portions which deal with S&T personnel, comparison of the salary rates in the
Could that be
private
submitted to the
sector.
committee immediately?
We're just the completion of the report is still in progress, so
Yes.
maybe probably next month.
Next month.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other comments with regard to the first two bills that we discussed earlier from our resource persons? Before I move on to the next bill? Does anyone want to speak with regard to the PAGASA Modernization or the Hazard Pay Allowance bill? Okay, there being none, for those resource persons involved in these two issues and the several bills, would you please submit your position papers to the committee? Okay, thank you. So at this juncture, I'd like to move on to Senate Bill number 2232, the Free Metro Manila Wi-Fi Act of 2014, which mandates the provision of a free public wireless internet access in public buildings, schools, hospitals, parks, airports, MRT and LRT, national roads, and other public facility in the National Capital Region. Connectivity to the internet will enhance business growth opportunities and will provide to citizens of Metro Manila critical information available online. The Information and Communication Technology Office under the DOST shall be the lead agency in the implementation of this ICT project. On the other hand, the National Telecommunications Commission shall monitor the progress of the implementation of a broadband infrastructure and its maintenance. Immediate funding requirement of this act shall be taken from the available funds of the NTC or overall savings under the GAA. Thereafter, the collections from the spectrum user fees of the NTC shall be automatically appropriated for the purpose. The ICTO may now present their position on the bill. Yes, Honorable Casambre, Undersecretary and Executive Director of the ICTO Office. First question, Undersecretary, is there a need for this bill? Yes.
Good morning, Your Honor. In one word, sir, absolutely.
Thank you for that response. Please continue.
Yeah. The internet or broadband connectivity has been proven worldwide to be a key driver for economic growth. In fact, a World Bank study a few years ago said that, or found that after an exhaustive survey, that for every 10% increase in broadband penetration results in a 1.23% in GDP growth. And this is for developing nations. So it's very applicable to our case, sir. In fact, our office, as early as 2013, has been proposing that a similar project of providing free Wi-Fi internet access. And it is included in the current 2015 budget proposal. So we welcome very much, sir, this proposal of the Honorable Chair to provide for Metro Manila free Wi-Fi internet access. it is not only a laudable project, it is very implementable, sir.
Implementable. In the bill, it identifies public buildings, schools, hospitals, parks, airports, MRT and LRT, national roads, other public facilities in the National Capital Region. Pwedeng gawin do. It can be done.
Yes, sir, it can be done.
Okay. Will it be costly? Sufficient ba yung nako-collectra from spectrum fees, which we collect something like almost 5 billion a year? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Mahal ba gawin ito o mura lang do?
Well, for the estimates that we did for the project I mentioned a while ago, the cost of, let's say, 1 billion pesos a year would support 90,000 simultaneous users. No? Of course, when people access the internet, it's not all simultaneous. If you double that cost, you would be able to support 180,000 with a population in Metro Manila of about 11 million. No? This might, the amount is feasible, sir. No? Also, if we consider the fact that in Metro Manila, the broadband infrastructure is quite well in place, no? As provided by the telecommunications companies. So the investment would be more in the operating cost, sir. No. Not necessarily in the investment cost.
Okay. So, you say, Cassandra, you're saying it is a good project, and you're saying it is doable, and you're saying that the ICTO office will be up to the task to implement such a project?
Yes, sir. Of course, sir, with in partnership with the private sector. No?
Yes, yes. Could it be done within a 2-year period?
Sir, it could be done in 1 year period.
In 1 year? Okay. I'd just like to mention to the committee that the reason why I just started with Metro Manila, as far as this bill is concerned, is because I thought that it might be very expensive. And, I said it might be impossible to do it nationwide. And that's why I thought of starting somewhere. And considering that the biggest taxpayers are in Metro Manila, and the biggest contributors to GDP, I suppose, are in Metro Manila as well, that it might be best to start somewhere, and that would be in Metro Manila. Of course, we're not saying we shouldn't do it nationwide. Pero kung mag-uumpisa tayo, I suppose we can start in Metro Manila. Is there any problem with that, Undersecretary Casambre?
Well, sir, there's no major problem with it. No. We would just probably like to argue that ICT can be used to drive inclusive growth, sir.
Correct.
No. That is why our project, as we originally conceptualized it,
Yes.
was to bring it to the rural areas.
Correct.
No. To give you an idea of the cost, sir, to install or to provide public Wi-Fi in about 300 or so class 4, 5, 6 municipalities would have cost the national government 578.515 million per year. If we were to extend that to include the third, second, and first class municipalities, which will include Metro Manila, I believe the cost would still be within the revenues of the NTC. So the funding source is quite capable, sir, of supporting this laudable program.
Okay. So again, let me reiterate. No? Nothing in this bill says also that we do not do it in the rural areas. Nothing prevents the ICTO from doing this or exploring the possibility of internet access in rural areas as well. No? In fact, there are other bills here for consideration today for all our elementary and high schools. Okay, under a bill that I also filed. Senate Bill number 2124 on ICT for public high schools and elementary schools, no? And we will discuss that after this proposal on free Wi-Fi in Metro Manila, no? Okay. So you're saying this is very doable? What is the downside of doing this? Is there any downside for providing free internet access in Metro Manila? May masama ba dito?
Sir, can I first go back and qualify doable?
Please, please. Yeah.
In Metro Manila, it is very doable. The challenge is more in the rural areas. No, because there are a lot of, for example, we have statistics from the Department of Education that only in 2013, only 17% of the 38,596 public elementary schools were in areas with internet connectivity. No? So 17% lang po. 83% are not in areas na merong kwan daw, may internet. No? So there, that in the rural areas, my point here is that in the rural areas, there is a challenge in terms of infrastructure connectivity. Yeah. So it's doable here in Metro Manila, absolutely, sir. Yeah. The downside, well, it will cause probably a dip in the retail sales of broadband for the telecommunication companies. Because people will, siyempre gusto nila libre. No, so they will not be paying yung mga one-day internet, unlimited packages. No, but then again, no, it should be seen that, of course, public facilities are cannot always provide the best. No, so, but it will provide, no, the opportunity for those who do not appreciate it yet to see the benefits of it, and then eventually, they're going to say, I want better service, and I'm willing to pay for it. So in the long run, or even in the medium-term run, we believe that this will spur greater activity, or greater revenues. Well, also for not only for the telcos, but also for the downstream industries.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Yusek Casambre. Can we hear from the non-government organizations, the representatives here? I think you have Attorney Purisima from the Bloggers and Netizens for Democracy, and then we have representatives from Infocom Technology Association of the Philippines. Yes. Attorney Purisima.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you for inviting us today. Our group applauds the initiative to provide state-sponsored and state-run broadband hotspot services within the NCR at no cost to citizens. The underlying policy being the acceleration of social progress and the promotion of human development through ICT. Allow us, however, to suggest points for the consideration of the Honorable Committee. Number one, considering that privacy and confidentiality issues accompany internet or web usage, we propose the inclusion of language in the legislation to indicate in a clear, unequivocal, and unmistakable manner the terms of usage for the broadband hotspot services. I suppose this could be stressed out further in the TWG. Second, again, relative to privacy and confidentiality issues, and looking back at the Supreme Court case relating to the Cybercrime Prevention Act, we propose the inclusion of language in the legislation to prevent and prohibit the state, either through any of its agencies or instrumentalities, or through third-party service providers, from using the broadband hotspot services for purposes of monitoring and or collecting private data from users. Otherwise stated, we suggest that the legislation guarantee that the state will not use the hotspot services as an instrument for an authorized search and seizure. Again, this is looking back at the issues raised in relation to the Cybercrime Prevention Act. Third, we propose the inclusion of a penal provision in the legislation for the misuse and or abuse of the broadband hotspot services, because we understand this is primarily for economic growth and for perhaps in the increase of the GDP, indirectly or directly. So, of course, there is the temptation to abuse free services, and especially considering that I understand that it will be included in our national highways, national roads. So those necessarily, those who reside along those places would have the distinct advantage of having constant free broadband usage. So, there should be safeguards as to misuse and abuse, and also this goes into the debate into, for example, net neutrality as to P2P, peer-to-peer, and file transfer protocols, whether this will be included, whether this will be restricted, or whether there shall be distinctions between ordinary usage and peer-to-peer usage, for example. So these issues, and we support on the whole the bill. It's just that the details would have to be stressed out further in the TWG. And so, Mr. Chairman, thank you for inviting us today.
Thank you very much, Engineer Ganya from the Democracy.net. Yes.
Thank you for inviting us as well, Mr. Chairman. We agree also, Democracy.net page agrees likewise that the intentions behind Senate Bill number 2124 for the ICT Education Act, especially for schools, and for 2232, Free Metro Manila Wi-Fi Act, we also agree with Sir Luis Casambre that this is a good thing for all of us, especially that we have other technologies in place such as CTV white space where we can expand across the rural areas. That being said, sir, we'd like also to include these matters for the committee to consider in the TWG. First would be consolidation and clarification of the roles of agencies towards the establishment of clear roles in the crafting of policy for this matter, because there are many related policies here. Attorney Purisima just mentioned several, which includes privacy, and which has not been done yet. The Privacy Commission hasn't been constituted, and that's necessary for protecting privacy. Another would be to involve law enforcement agencies insofar as we have learned across the world that free open hotspots have been used as entry points in the commission of cybercrime, or also cyber terrorism. So we need to consider that. Third, since this is going to be potentially partly government and partly private sector, we would want somebody to spearhead putting the appropriate cybersecurity measures in place to be integrated with the systems, because not merely will the hotspots be an entry point to attack other people, it can also be used to attack our own critical infrastructure like power controls, hydroelectric, water, and so on through these entry points. That being said, sir, this is a good progressive bill. We support it, and we hope that not merely in Metro Manila but across the country, if at all possible.
Do we expect to include all of those issues in one bill, particularly for this particular bill, or should that be in the Cybercrime Prevention Act?
If I may, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
you might find that he's not here. He wouldn't. He's not here. But Senator Bam Aquino has this part of your intentions as well in Senate Bill number 1091 for the Magna Carta for Philippine Internet Freedom. And as we have discussed in the previous hearing, all these aspects have been covered by the MCPIF. So if the question is whether or not it can be included in one bill, it can be. It'll be up to, I guess, the wisdom of the committee whether or not to take them separately or to put them all together.
Thank you very much for that, Engineer. Mr. Mapa, Dondi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for providing us this opportunity to give our comments on the bill. First and foremost, we'd like to wholeheartedly commend the author of this bill, which we feel is an urgent and important measure for the development of our country and its citizens. We therefore express our association's wholehearted support for this measure. In addition, we would like to recommend that an additional section be added to the draft Bill 2232. This section would allow for the use of unused TV channels in providing free public wireless internet access.
These unused channels, also known as TV white spaces, have proven to be an effective means of reducing the cost of internet access. In fact, there is a pilot project being conducted on the island of Bohol as we speak. This pilot project was organized under a public-private partnership of USAID, the ICT Office of the OST, the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, and Microsoft Philippines. This TV Whitespace pilot network currently serves 5 municipalities, over 30 schools and government offices, and a beneficiary community of over 20,000 fisherfolk families. It is also noteworthy to mention that these same TV Whitespace technologies were used to provide free internet access in Palo and Tanawan, 2 areas which were hard hit by Typhoon Yolanda. TV Whitespace networks work in much the same way as conventional Wi-Fi, but because the TV signal travels over long distances, they require fewer access points. In fact, it is estimated that a TV Whitespace network is typically 4 times the range and 16 times the coverage of a Wi-Fi or 3G network. In addition, TV signals are better than Wi-Fi or cellular signals in terms of penetrating walls. And thus, in a highly built-up area such as the NCR, it would be appropriate to use this type of frequency, especially since these TV channels are unused. Mr. Chairman, we therefore believe that the use of TV white spaces would make it more feasible and affordable for Internet service providers to meet the objectives of Senate Bill 2232, and thus we hereby volunteer to work with the technical working group to craft the appropriate language that would allow for the use of TV white spaces in the NCR. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that, Mr. Mapa. Could we hear now at this juncture from the representatives of the private telcos? Let's begin with PLDT. Any comments on the 2 proposed measures? Might as well discuss them together already, if that's possible. Senate Bill number 2124, ICT for public high schools, and Senate Bill number 2232.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. For PLDT, we really support and laud the measures being sponsored by this committee. PLDT will be ready for the TWG and will fully support and cooperate with the TWG, Your Honor. We do not see any negative impact for so long as there will be an agreement between the private telcos and the government on the compensation and use of these facilities, Your Honor. That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney Pinera. Legal Counsel for Globe, Attorney Lim.
Good morning, Mr. Senator. Yes, like everybody else, we support your proposed law because it's good for our country and good for our people. But of course, the devil is always in the details. And Section 5 of your proposed law may be the source of one such devil. The last sentence of the first paragraph states that these hotspots will be made available using initially the services of existing commercial internet service providers until such time that a national broadband system has been installed. So necessarily, Your Honor, this paragraph, this sentence will give rise to a number of questions, if I may. And the first question, of course, is how long will that initial period be? The second question is, during that initial period, will the commercial internet service providers be the ones to provide the infrastructure? And if they will be the ones to provide the infrastructure, will they be exempt from taxes and other impositions of the local governments within Metro Manila? And also from the permits, will there be a mechanism to fast-track the issuance of...
Attorney Lim, your concern on this
Yes.
issue, no? And the reason why we put that there is that it was just brought to our attention that there is such a Philippine digital strategy.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm not sure if there are really details of that Philippine digital strategy map. We can ask that later on, but my impression is that the telecommunications industry is purely in the private sector, and that I did not expect government to be involved in putting its own gateway facilities and so on and so forth. But yes, we included that in the bill, but I think our business model in the Philippines is such that we leave it to the private sector as far as telecommunications is concerned, and that the public can only, the public sector can make some investments together with the private sector, but not necessarily to compete with the private sector. So if we take that away, then you wouldn't have a problem with this bill.
Yes, Your Honor. But
basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if I may
Yes.
add one more point, sir. The sustainability of these hotspots, if they are to be maintained by the private sector, might be a question in the long run, because you will have to remember that at present, I think 70% of internet traffic is still international. You will have to go outside before coming back in. And the question is, how long will you be able to sustain that?
I think the maintenance should be with the public sector, but you raised an important issue on that connectivity. Huh? Yeah, on the interconnection. Well, that's something maybe that the committee can deliberate later on, no? But with the Undersecretary Casambre, meron ba digital strategy?
Yes, sir.
Is it the plan of government to have its own facility?
Not necessarily, sir.
Okay.
No. The Philippine government is always, the foremost thought is always to spend the public money as best as it can. No? So, first and foremost, we always look to the private sector to provide the means. No? However, no, it must always be at the most affordable or at the best price possible. No? In some scenarios, it may be in the interest of the government to invest in the infrastructure. No? Although our thinking is that always that the maintenance and operation should not be done by government, because, well, government has proven long ago that it's not really good at doing such things.
But with regard to this proposal, if you will put up the infrastructure in all these public buildings, public parks, so on and so forth, who will maintain it?
Sir, actually, the current idea, even for the program that we are proposing for the rural areas, will be done through the private sector. No? However, there are, for example, government centers that are being established, are being put in. For example, we are now laying fiber along the MRT for government operations. That could be leveraged to get better costs or lower the costs for this program. But definitely, yung maintenance and operation, that should be done by the private sector.
Okay, thank you. Let me move on. Could we ask the DepEd to comment on Senate Bill 2124? Do we have a representative from the DepEd here? Yes.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. De La Cruz, yes.
Yes, the Department of Education welcomes initiative which aims to complement and promote ICT-based school projects in promoting the department's thrust to prime our students for the 21st century education. This is the information age, and the better we are ICT equipped, the better we can prepare our students for the future. So, with regards to the bill, Mr. Chair, we are recommending that in addition to public high schools, elementary schools shall also be included. In considering this, the DepEd strongly supports and endorses Senate Bill 2124.
Okay. My understanding is that you are already doing this as well.
Yes, Mr. Chair, since 1999, we have undergone the DepEd computerization program, and as of to date, we have already provided ICT infrastructure to all high schools, as well as around 60% of our elementary schools. Unfortunately for ICT, there's obsolescence, So we're still upgrading those old computers, and we're still proposing a budget for.
Correct. And the difference is that in this bill, it also identifies the ICTO to assist your teachers in identifying the standards, I suppose, for each school, and for teaching teachers to be able to teach their students as well. Do you have any problem with that?
We're also doing that, Your Honor. In fact, we're now training our teachers to use ICT infrastructure in teaching the lessons.
Yeah, pero walang role ang ICTO. Do they have a role right now in the DepEd? Yes.
Sir, well, DepEd has been quite capable, no? But we assist them whenever they need us. Yes.
Okay, but to adopt a certain standard, I mean, that's what the bill proposes as well, that you have a more direct hand also with the DepEd, right? It's incorporated in the bill, para to ensure the quality of computers that they purchase, so on and so forth, the standards, the type of interconnectivity, so on and so forth, including the possibility of preparing modules for teachers to teach their students or something to that effect. Yes.
So, well, with regards to the standards for equipment, actually, we are already coordinating with them in partnership with the DBM. No? This actually covers the whole of government through the medium-term IT harmonization initiative. No? With regards to standards as to how to teach the students, no? Again, it is our position that it should be the DepEd that should be the lead in it. No? However we might support them, we are always open to that, sir.
Right. Okay, thank you. Any other, Mr. De La Cruz? And finally, for today, you have one more bill. Science laboratories. Senate Bill number 539 in public schools. Could you comment on this, Mr. De La Cruz?
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
Regarding the Senate Bill 529, the Department of Education highly appreciated this bill because it will help us fast-track the construction of laboratory facilities for science and mathematics, and also distribution of the equipment and the training of teachers. We highly appreciated this bill, and we fully supported this the realization of this bill. However, we'd like to make some suggestions that for this Science Laboratory Basic Education Act, mathematics should also be considered, sir, and that there are two types of equipment being distributed in the field right now. We are also giving out mathematics and science equipment, not only science equipment but also mathematics, because we believe that these are two subjects that should be concentrated more in order for the students to really have a knowledge on technology, because we believe that technology is the application of this science and mathematics education. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that. Any other comments for all the proposed measures? Yes, Bettina.
Actually, no comments. If I we have a very brief PowerPoint presentation on what TV white space is, if you're so, okay.
Is there any other comment before the presentation is made? Yes.
Yes, sir. I'm Director Forlan from MMDA. I would just like to register the support of MMDA for the Wi-Fi free access Wi-Fi for Metro Manila. In fact, sir, under the administration of Chairman Tolentino, we already started with our bus terminal, the provincial bus terminal. We're currently providing free Wi-Fi access to all our patrons, no, in the terminal, the one located in Uniway Paranaque Coastal Mall. So, with that, sir, we're very much supportive of we're very much supportive of the bill, and we're going to give you the official position paper of MMDA for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Before the presentation, can we hear from the NTC first? Mr. Cordoba.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for inviting us. We fully support the measure which was proposed by the Honorable Chairman, and we think it's really needed by the country because there's a study that doubling the access to internet increases the GDP by 0.3%. And then just a few comments, Mr. Chair. First of all, I also support the comment by the private sector a while ago regarding the parameters of use. There should be parameters in the use of this free Wi-Fi so that it wouldn't be subject to abuse. So that may be tackled in the implementing rules and regulations. Also, if it's used for illegal activities, so I also support the suggestions on that. And just to let the honorable committee know that in other countries, the government is really taking a very active part and an active role, and has even been pumping in really huge sums of money for initiatives such as this one. We can submit to the committee the amounts which were spent by other countries, but just to name a few, for example, Your Honor, in Korea, it's 24 billion for public, and then low-cost loans worth 1.76 billion US dollars. And then for Singapore, it's 750 million grant Singapore dollars to OpenNet to build the broadband network. And then for the United States, it's 7.2 billion US dollars. That's aside from the funds which are being used by per state. This is only the national government. So, and the list is really long, Your Honor, and we will submit this to justify the use of government funds for this endeavor. Just another comment, Your Honor, on item number section 6. It says po that the amount necessary for the immediate implementation of the provisions of this act shall be charged against any available funds of the NTC. Just to let the body know, Your Honor, right now our budget for 2013 is only around 257, and that's not enough for our operations. So insofar as savings is concerned, we wouldn't have that. But insofar as the
I think
budget,
the idea there
yes,
is
sir.
with regard to the spectrum fees, no?
Yes, sir. I'll give you the
Yes.
rundown po. For the SUF for 2013, Your Honor, we were able to collect around 2.5 billion pesos. But we also have the supervision and regulatory fees for broadcasters and other uses of frequencies. It's a 1.3 for a total collection last year of 4.6 billion pesos, Your Honor.
And that goes to the Treasury?
Everything goes to the general fund, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes. So if it's possible po to earmark that for this purpose, and we would really support that, Your Honor.
Thank you very much for your comments. Attorney Ibay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very, very brief comment. Since we're already in the topic also of talking about providing free public wireless internet, maybe it's also about time that we look into freeing a lot of the spectrum that are like similar to the TV white space that can be harnessed also for internet access. But apparently there's a need also to rationalize all these frequencies that are being held up for so many reasons. So we'd just like to also bring that to the attention of the Honorable Senator. All right, thank you.
So what is the intention, Attorney Ibay? Why did you bring this issue up?
Because we're already in topic also, Your Honor, of talking about the TV white space, and then the Honorable Undersecretary was also talking about the cost of linking or giving bandwidth to third, fourth, and fifth class municipalities in the amount of 578 million. We believe that this cost can significantly go lower if more frequencies for internet use be freed up, because for a host of so many reasons, a lot of these frequencies are being held up and are not being efficiently allocated now. No? So there's really a need for frequency rationalization, and for this reason, Your Honor, we just like to bring this to the attention. Thank you.
Yes, Yusek Casambre.
Thank you, sir. So the spectrum has long been treated as like land. you can own it, in quotation marks, and not use it. But there's very limited amount of spectrum. The Constitution says it's a national patrimony. So that should benefit all the people. Given the limited amount of it, the current legal framework or legal environment seems to be out of sync. They're wasting opportunity. And the
Yusek Casambre. Yes, Bettina, you have a presentation to make?
Yeah.
How long will that?
So basically, we're discussing here the Philippine internet landscape. Discussed earlier, internet actually provides, well, exclusive growth, because those with internet actually, that's a solid line, actually have an increase in terms of their lifestyle and costs, while the people that don't have internet actually have a decreasing ability to purchase goods. So with that in mind, everybody knows about the 3.6 that came out recently. There was a discussion on this last week. And in the Philippine internet landscape, all the orange sectors, basically, from information given to us by DepEd, actually, those areas, those schools have no connectivity. Whereas the ones that are in blue actually have connectivity. The pink circles over there are the areas where we have TV white space. So with that, this is what TV white space is all about. This is what we're looking at. TV white space is ideal for the Philippine landscape. Why is that? Because if you look at this, TV white space, actually, that's why it's ideal for the rural areas. Having said that, right now, government depends on telcos to provide their expansion. If there is no ROI, as in the rural areas, the telcos do not go there. So we're hoping that TV white space will be permitted for quick deployment and low cost. Private sector will invest. Delivery of government services is given. Equal education and economic opportunity goes to everybody. Rural communities, we're looking at this as a catalytic intervention, because at some point the rural communities, as stated earlier, will want more connectivity, and they will now be able to afford to pay for the connectivity because they're used to it now. So given that, just quickly review what was done in Bohol. Those are the sites that we set up, and in this instance we have one base station in 3 CPEs, but we're actually covering over 20 offices with a free Wi-Fi public area. And over here, you can see the CPE up there, just put up on a balcony. It does not require line of sight. And that is, at that point in time, we already had 70 people actually accessing the actually 77 people when we were there to monitor. Okay. So that means in Bohol, you have a lot of people using smartphones. Okay. Anyways, here you have the rural areas. We're doing the mayor's office, community hospitals, PNP. All government offices were connected. With that, this is what the base station looks like. It's quite small, so it's easy to deploy. Next to that, this is a very close one. It happens to be line of sight, but this was set up right after the earthquake in Bohol. So after the earthquake, six days after, where there was no connectivity, internet connectivity from the telcos, we were actually able to bring this up. And with that, we actually have them using it. You see the smartphones being used there in the municipal hall. At the same time, later on, we used it to deliver telehealth services through the RX box and Skype use into Manila. Then for DepEd, we actually have an elementary school using this. And then this is the disaster warehouse of DSWD, as they still support some areas there. And this is the turnover of Bohol, as was discussed by Don Di Mapa earlier, where we're actually servicing 20,000 families, fisher folks. So with that, during the disaster response, it's also ideal. In Palo, we set up, and in that setup, we actually had connected only 3 areas, simply because nobody wanted to take responsibility for the equipment. But in those 3 areas, actually, this is in December when we went there, you can still see some of the destruction. And here, this is what we're looking at, the area that we serviced. It's powered by solar. And that's at that point we had the VSAT, and if you'll notice in the center there's a small white thing in the middle column, that's the CPE, and we actually gave connectivity to over 3,000 families that were hosted in the Philippine Science High School. So basically, in a quick word, we feel that TV white space is not just good for rural inclusion, inclusive growth, but we feel that it is also very important in the use of disaster risk management, post-disaster deployments. Thank you very much.
So, Bettina, that could be used also by your elementary and high schools.
Definitely, sir.
In
That's
the
our
rural
goal.
areas.
Yes, that's our goal, sir.
So we can utilize that together with the DepEd in the rollout of the ICT. For
Yes, sir.
elementary
That would
and
be
high schools.
ideal, sir.
Thank you very much for that, Bettina. Thank you. Okay, at this juncture, if you have any other comments or position papers, please submit it to the committee. We had several discussions earlier, bills on the PAGASA Modernization. We will create a technical working group for these bills. Second, on the hazard pay allowance, another technical working group for this. Similarly, for the science laboratories and the ICT for public schools, another technical working group for this. And finally, for the Senate Bill number 2232, the Free Metro Manila Wi-Fi Act of 2014, we will also create another technical working group for this. No? Hopefully, within the next 6 months or by the end of the year, some of these bills could be deliberated in the floor and maybe passed also on second or third reading for that matter. Now, so we look forward to coordinating with our resource persons. Again, thank you very much for your presence this morning and this afternoon. I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you very much.
Suggestions on the matter, because I think, I mean, to be very candid about it, generally the driving force behind the conversion from municipality to city is the increase in IRA. But I think that is something that can be addressed by perhaps raising and if we can put as a test, again, it's something that has been born of the discussions I've had on the subject, formally and informally, that the dependence on IRA is probably a more important test rather than an absolute figure. Simply because the original test of 100 million is simply not high enough. And that is because